Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing today? Wherever you are joining in live around the world. My name's Gavin, the host. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Andy Demi. It's just gone midday for him in the UK. It's just gone 10 p.m. here for me in Australia. Mr. Demi, how are you today, good sir? I tip my hat to you.
I'm good, mate. Last show of the year. I hope you've got a box of tissues next to you, mate.
Mate,
I know how emotional you get.
I'm glad that you clarified that. Yesterday you were talking about us having kids together, and now today you're asking if I've got a box of tissues next to me. I mean, what a way to start the
show. You still remember about the kids, huh? So deep down, I know you want them.
I've tried to meditate on that. I've tried to exercise those images. I can't get the words out of my brain, mate. I sat in the shower for about an hour crying after the show yesterday.
Oh, dearie me. Yes.
If you have no idea what we're going on about, at least just that little quip from Mr. Demi is worth checking out the FX show. Even if you're not an active FX participant, if you are and you haven't watched that show yet, put your hand out. Naughty. Very naughty. It's been 24 hours. Mr. Demi has given a 5-to-1 trade, a swing trade, nonetheless. So it's not like you have to be super active. On what was it on Euro USD, if memory serves me right, correct?
It is on Euro USD, yes.
But I never thought on the last show anything can happen, and something new has happened already. We're talking about FX in a crypto show. That's not been done all year.
You know the market's going down. That's the case.
Mate, I'm very bullish. I'm very bullish on cryptos, and 2022 is going to be a very good year. 2022 is going to be a very good year, but you're not here to listen to what I think is going on in the markets. We're here to listen to Mr. Demi. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight. First of all, give us your opinion from the point of view as a professional trader / investor. What's your opinion on the current state of affairs over the last 7 days? Please enlighten us.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that you need to kind of look at is that, you know, I mean, we've experienced these pullbacks quite a lot of times now, and you know, it's important that you take everything in context. You know, when you look at what Bitcoin has done, for example, you know, this is a really small retracement. Yes, things happen quite violently in cryptos, and it can seem really scary, but realistically, you know, yeah, the first time you experience it, I can understand it. The second time, the third, but it's not the second or the third time. This happens all the time.
Yeah.
So then all these kind of analysts come out and they tell us how low it's going to go and so on. Look, it can go lower, absolutely. Right now, I'm like you. I'm still very bullish on the market. And I've been accumulating, and that's what we've been doing in the investment group. We've been accumulating, and I'm confident. You know, if I didn't feel that, then, you know, I would kind of pause and I'd say, like, guys, we're not going to be buying anything right now because I think we're going to go in a bear market. I don't feel that right now. I still feel very bullish, and I think there's nothing there right now at this precise moment that would alarm me, apart from, you know, we've retraced and now we're going to kind of see what happens at this point. But again, you know, we're investing for the long term, and you know, I'm taking advantage of these short-term moves. I've posted a couple in the groups as well, and even in the Facebook groups as well. We took a nice Bitcoin trade, and we're long Ethereum as well, from the lows, and we'll go through all of those. But you know, I think there's always opportunities. If it goes into a bear market, so be it. So what? We can trade it down and then build up, pot up, and then buy it even cheaper, even better. You know, if we can, you know, right now there's some real bargains to be found, and the smart money's made now. The smart money's made now. It's not made when things are flying up. It feels better when things are flying up, but that's not where the money's made. By that point, it's a little bit late.
Well, and even to go one step further, like, this is my first proper year of making money in the markets. It's not come how I thought it was. This time last year, I was balls deep in FX. I was glued to the screens. I was learning all of this stuff. It's come from being more passive. and actually spending less time. But one thing that you've said over and over again, and I get it now, because knowledge is great, but that taking action converts it into wisdom, and having that wisdom, I now feel and I know what you say because I've gone through it now. And it seems like easy money on the top of things. Everybody's like, what? You just put some money in, you put some money into that crypto coin and you just left it, and then you've made all this money. Well, yes, on the surface, that's what's happened. But now everybody here who's maybe had a little freak out like we all have at the beginning, this is where you're really learning how to play the game, right? And you say this all the time. You've done it for years and years and years. It's nothing new to you. So, I mean, I get a little bit bored talking about it. Christ knows what you must think about after like 18, 19 years of going through the same stuff. And I remember thinking this before, the housing crash, the COVID crash, when Ethereum was below, it was about $80 a coin. Bitcoin was down to like $4,000 a coin. If we had a time machine, we'd love to go back to that time and buy it, unless we're going to go back to pre-2010 and pick up Bitcoin then. Just talk again, just like one final message to kind of get into people's consciousness and deep into their cells, that they can take this through the Christmas break. And if we still haven't recovered and it's starting to moonshot by the start of 2022, just give us a few little wisdoms of nuggets from your experience of actually converting the knowledge of what you're about to say into action, please. Thank you.
Well, I think I'd start with, firstly, thinking about what's happening right now and how you're feeling about that. And, almost certainly most people, I'm not saying all of them, because I know some people are not, because that's what they're sharing in our group and so on. Like, I can see that some people are actually excited that they're seeing the markets go down, saying things like, wow, I can't believe I can get this coin for so cheap. It's time to load up. But most people are not either not posting or feeling a little bit of like, oh my word, my portfolio has been depleted. So what I'd really encourage you to think about is, would you rather Bitcoin was at 45K, or would you rather Bitcoin was at 200K? And, really think about that, because if it was at 200K, have you bought as much as you would like to? Because we always want to have more, right? And for me, it's like, well, great. It means that, for people, some people, what they do is they take, and it's quite a smart idea. A lot of the kind of exchanges allow you to do like a direct debit, and you can buy a little bit of Bitcoin every month. So like crypto.com is one of those exchanges that allows you to do that. And I think Coinbase do as well, which is quite smart. So as you're working, you can take like £200 out of your wages and just keep adding it in. Well, wouldn't you rather be buying as the market is going down, right? You don't want it to be at 200K. You want it to be at a lower price point. So this isn't anything to fear. Now, the ones that need to be fearful are the ones that are greedy and over leveraged. Now, if you're over leveraged, then you could be in trouble, and that's what's happening a lot of the time to the market is, we are having people getting liquidated, and then it creates that spiraling effect. And that's why you get these really, really big moves, really, really fast down, because it's just literally the exchange is liquidating. So everything is just being sold all in one go. And then you get these ferocious moves, and it's like, wow, okay. But I guess like what you need to do is you need to focus on what's real right now. And you've got to think, right, okay, where do I think these coins are going to be in the future? And really think about that and think, well, if, for example, you think Bitcoin's going to be at 2 or 3 or 400,000 or even higher, and you can buy it today at 45, well, you should be buying whatever you can of it, right? Because that's and I think Bitcoin isn't the best example, because as we've said before, there's going to be a lot of these coins that we're investing in that do a lot more than a 5 or 10x, especially if you've got time. If you think about it like this, guys, what are we investing in? We're investing in the future. We're investing in how the world is going to be going forward. So if you can kind of imagine yourself back pre-internet, and having the opportunity to invest in the internet. There's loads of different ways of investing in the internet, right? So some people may have bought Amazon, some people may have bought Microsoft, and so on, Google. But right now, it's like Web 3.0, right? That's what we're calling it. So it's like a new future, and we're investing in projects that are going to be part of that new future. And so, like, if you remember back in those days, if you look at Amazon at the beginning, like, it was very, very choppy. Like, you could have bought Amazon and lost, 60, 70%, which is very similar to what we're seeing now in cryptos. But boy, would you have loved to have held on, right? Imagine if you bought Amazon back then and just held it until now, right? You'd be a multi-millionaire from doing literally nothing, just holding. So the projects that we're investing in is part of the new future. So you've got to remember that it's a new asset. It's going to be volatile. It's unknown. It's not in the mainstream. It's not being used actively in the mainstream. It's not like, my house. I mean, I'm not exaggerating, maybe 2 or 3 Amazon parcels a day come through my door. It's incredible, right? So if you have
got 4 women in the house with you, to be fair.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I do complain a lot about it. Like, seriously, are we trying to keep Bezos?
I can only imagine.
What are we doing?
You grumpy git.
Yes. But anyway, the parcels do continue coming through the door. So see if I don't talk. But anyway, that's a different story. But no, it's like, and that's why what we're investing in now, as long as you understand what you're investing in and the potential future, you've just got to think, wow, okay, great. Maybe you bought something for $10 and now it's $3. But that's possible. But if I showed you the future in 3 years' time and that was 1,000, like, would you care? Not really. And that's really what the case with Amazon, right? Like, it's the equivalent of that. It went from 10 to 3 and then up to 1,000. Obviously, the numbers are different, but that's the equivalent. So, it gives you time. So you've just got to think rationally. Don't get emotional. Don't over leverage. Take your time. There will always be pullbacks. There will always be the crypto market for me is not going away. This is here to stay now. So you have to stay calm and keep doing the right thing. And that's really what you need to do now. You don't need to do anything more than that. Like you said, Gavin, it doesn't need to be, you have to stare at screens all day. You can just buy, invest, hold, stake, maximize, you can do all sorts of various things that you can maximize your gains, and just understand, what you're actually investing in. That's the most important. Don't make your investment decisions based on FUD and Twitter and Facebook and and that's the thing. I think that the people that are investing in those kind of coins, dot coins and things, I mean, I might be wrong, but I just can't see how that's going to change anything for the world. Like, how is that going to make an impact? Like, I think invest in something that's going to make an impact, and ultimately those are the projects that are going to be the biggest.
It's like we've always said, mate, and you were preaching this, and obviously it's not just you that's designed this concept, but you were the one to spread the message here. Find what glows for you. Doesn't necessarily have to jump off the page, but what products or what projects do you believe in? What do you see yourself using as we move into this new earth that we're already in, regardless of all the circus and crap that's going on? We're moving into a new earth, guys, whether you're aware of it or not. Spoiler alert. What other projects that you see value, that you would go, do you know what, in the next 1 or 2 years, I would actually use this as I transition away out of centralized banks and all of that gubbins? This is A, I believe in this project, and B, I can see myself using it. And that's one of the first things that you said that I kind of really took on board was, what do I believe in? What projects do I believe in? Now, also, it's easy for you to say this because you are the pro master. For someone who's newer into the newer end of the spectrum, I believe that you guys are going to get triggered emotionally, but embrace that. Don't react to it. Just know, almost just know it's going to come. Like, if you go for a picnic in the UK in the summer, you secretly know that there's probably going to be some rain coming, right? If you wake up in the morning and there's blue skies, you're like, oh, amazing. But I'm still in the back of my mind, it's probably going to rain in the afternoon. Don't be surprised is the moral of this story. Don't be surprised if your emotions come up when you're doing this. Check in. Why are those emotions coming up? Just pause, breathe, and see what it is. Is it a warning signal trying to tell you not to put so much money in? Don't be greedy. Or is it trying to tell you something else? And just start playing around with that rather than just blindly going into it. And it will be a lot more of a less bumpy ride, shall we say. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in this segment is you mentioned something really interesting about the dot-com boom. And obviously, all of those mushroomed up. And then like 98% of them kind of just vanished, right? There's some school of thought that are applying that to the crypto market. What are your thoughts on that? Because I've got my own opinions, and guys who are listening in, we will do some shout outs, but we've just kind of just dived into the conversation to try and give you as much value as possible. What are your thoughts? You're sitting at home, wherever you are around the world. What do you see? Do you see any parallels to the dot-com boom and bust? Or do you think cryptos are different? So if you want to share your point of view on that first, mate, then take it away.
Yeah, no, I think I can see why the comparison is there. I think at this stage it's hard to say because it's very early days. Right now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's a lot of, because a lot of the projects that are being built actually work within that infrastructure. So like Ethereum, for example, if you take a lot of the Ethereum projects, they rely on Ethereum, which is the number one sort of layer one blockchain. So, those projects are solving specific niche issues, whatever they are. And then they work on the Ethereum network. So, I think I can't see some projects will fail or some they just won't grow. But I do think I think a big part there's two things here. A big part is the reason why we diversify is because I do think there's going to be a lot of projects that are really successful. The other thing that we also tell people to do is, when you can, take your money off the table. You can it's okay to take some profit or get your investment back. Now, you don't have to do that, by the way, but we do say, look, if for example, cryptos are very volatile, and doubling your investment, for example, isn't like traditional markets where you may have to wait a year or 2 years for that to happen. That can happen literally in a few weeks sometimes. So if you have that opportunity, like it's not a bad idea to take your investment back, and then it becomes risk-free, because then what happens is then you've taken advantage of the crypto volatility, the uncertainty, so you've got your money back. But now you've got the project still. So if that happens to explode, then amazing. And if it doesn't, well, okay, it's now a risk-free trade. So I think you have to be quite smart. There's a lot of unknowns right now, for sure. But it's not my belief that 98% of the projects will fail. I do think some will, of course, and they do still, or they won't grow. And obviously, if you've got your money sitting in them and they're not growing, you have to make a decision whether you'd want to cut your loss and move it on. But yeah, I think I don't know. It's kind of on the fence, but I don't think it's going to be a like for like.
And I don't think it's a linear thing. Like just because you're in a project that is talking to you or jumping off the page, it doesn't mean you have to stay in it forever. So maybe you get like a 1 or 2x and then you jump it over into another project, or maybe it only just breaks even. Who knows? But the really interesting thing from my point of view is this was the trick. Like how we're moving across now, TVL is a big thing, right? Total value locked. And they're being really smart about what they're doing by incentivizing. And obviously the guys in the investment group will know more about that. Do your research and find out more information about that. But all of the options that you can do with that, just on community, like people don't want to feel alone right now, regardless of what it is, especially with all the other circus acts that are going on in the political and the economical world. When you break it down, I listened to this really interesting like podcast and YouTube talk with a professor and this guy talking about how easy it is to be controlled. And are we being mass hypnotized? And they break down a really good case, and you can go, well, actually, yeah, that makes total sense. Isolate people, take away their ability to make money, make them feel depressed, make them feel sad, stop them from exercising, and then they're easily malleable to do what people want if they have a certain agenda. Now, I'm not saying that they do. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. If you're interested in that, I can send you the link to that. But the concept of total value lock-in and how much people are investing into these projects, I think that's a big difference between the cryptos and the .com era, was that the community that are behind all of this. And if there's a big community and they've locked their money in and they're getting rewards far greater than they would from anything else that's out there, well, then how is that money going to vanish?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I hear what you're saying. I mean, I think the setup of cryptos is different, like you said. I mean, yeah, I mean, with the .coms, I mean, there's dividends, but the kind of rewards that you get in cryptos completely supersedes anything we had back then in the .com era. So no, it's a valid point. I think, and it's a good thing to look at as well when you're considering, you know, I guess investments that are a little bit, I guess, you know, they're not gonna respond so much to the general market pullbacks when you have a lot of money locked up because you can't actually sell it. So there's a way to build your portfolio up so that, you know, you could have some projects that have a high, you know, a lot of staked coins. So, you know, and especially ones that encourage you to lock it for longer periods of time. It just means that when there's a market dump, nobody can sell it. So those coins become a little bit more immune to pullbacks. But yeah, no, it's interesting. I think it's still a space that's been trying to be understood and still developing in many ways. But that's what makes the opportunity so big, is that if everything was on the table and if it was certain, then the opportunity wouldn't be there. And you know, and that's why, like, you know, you can buy stocks now, great companies, but you know, what are they? They're established. You know, I mean, if you buy Google, if you buy Apple, I mean, yes, it could grow, but it's an established market. We all have iPhones. Okay, maybe I don't know, the iPhone 14 or 15 or 16 is going to do something slightly different, but it's not anything we're not used to. Imagine the first smartphone. Imagine we go back to the Nokia 3210. Do you remember that?
No, being honest, no. I mean, you're way older than me for a start.
Well,
so
you know,
why would I remember that, mate? Why would I remember that?
Well, it was one of the most common phones. And then suddenly imagine somebody creates a smartphone and you're like, wow, what the hell is going? This is a computer. This is not a phone. And that's really what cryptos are. It's like, it's a new way of being, and you're like, wow, okay. And we haven't got to the wow bit yet, because it's not really mainstream, and we don't really fully, even maybe you and I, we don't fully appreciate exactly how it's going to be different, but we have a good idea of how it's going to be different, how the future is going to be in 5 years' time. Amen. So yeah, so I think that's why the opportunity is so huge. And I'm going to repeat one thing: it's extremely early. I've said it a few times. We are still extremely early. So don't think it's late.
Cool. So look, let's check in with a couple of the comments. Julie in the house, good to have you with us. She's interested in the video. I'll post it for you. Join the revolution. And it's just another alternative perspective. Be interesting to hear your thoughts on it from some pretty smart people that, you know, smarter than myself. And I always like to be, I don't know about you, but I always like to be the dumbest guy in the room. I feel like I'm quite smart in some things, but I always like to feel like, I always try and be around smarter people as possible and just keep learning, you know. And that was interesting, you're saying about the phone scenario. I know we've got entrepreneurs in here, but if anybody's ever sold physical products, there's nothing like you're trying to work out how much you're going to sell in your next quarter or 6 months. And you've got to balance that off against cash flow. And then when you sell out of stock, you're like, damn it, we're losing like 10K a day, 20K a day, whatever it is. So there's that opportunity cost, but you never know. By the time the products are made, they're shipped over, then they go out. You don't know if a competitor's going to come in, they're going to undercut you, whether there's going to be some sort of legislation. So you've put all this money and effort and time into all of this like physical thing, and you haven't got any money for it. Whereas with cryptos, it's so amazing that you can literally get in and out at the blink of an eye. If you change your mind, if you don't like something, if you find a better deal or a better offer, it just amazes me how this opportunity that's available for us now. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Zach's saying, good to have you with us, Zach. FUD and FOMO is going to make XRP interesting now. All the weak hands Darth Demi warned us about are now peeved off about the rise. And there was another comment in there that I wanted to pick your brains about. Actually, I've got a comment here. They're saying about Bitcoin and Ethereum's gone down 6%, which isn't that much, as uncertainty around the Fed taper lingers. What's your perspective on that, mate? Is that like a realistic thing, that why people would panic?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the FOMC meeting this week. Yeah, there's certainly something there that you have to definitely take into account, that something could be said there. I mean, I was speaking to one of my friends who's a trader, who was asking me my opinion on the meeting and things. But to be quite honest, I mean, it's if we knew what was going to be said, then it'd be easy to trade it. But like, you know, for me, at this stage, I don't see anything different to what's already been said. The tapering continues as planned. Now, if things change, then yes, it can create volatility. You have to take that into account. I think it's Wednesday, right?
Today?
No, I think it's on Wednesday. No, Wednesday's Tuesday here for us. So Wednesday or Thursday, I think the meeting is, but we need to make sure we know that. But that's the time. You need to make sure it's 7:30 UK time. So yes, it will create potential volatility. Dollar is going to be affected. So absolutely, Bitcoin's going to be affected, depending on.
As you're a currency expert, right? You've done it. You've done it to the highest level. Why is that not making a difference to the FX pairs? Why is it only making a difference to Bitcoin and Ethereum and cryptos?
No, I mean it's not a case of it. It's more a case of what could happen. It's not. Yeah, I mean, people are saying are people saying the sell-off has been because of the Fed?
I see multiple reports on that every time they try and make it seem like.
I'm not too sure, but I think with reports, it's one of those. I think I've said it before on this show, that if you think of it, a reporter has to report a reason for something happening. So, like, I don't know if you remember, like, you know, sometimes we do all these technical analysis where identify a turning point, and then the market turns perfectly on that technical analysis that we've done, and then the market goes up, and then all of a sudden the report gives you some reason why the market's gone up, and they have to almost justify it. But really, it hit a line and it went up. And I think most people make decisions with technical analysis. So, and then the reasons come afterwards. So for me, I think, yes, it can have an impact. The statement will have an impact because it will give us an indication of potential rate hikes and the dollar's strength, and whether people are going to be putting money in the dollar, or whether they're going to be like not trusting the dollar and therefore moving it into something like Bitcoin. So dollar weakness will probably mean Bitcoin goes up. So, you know, it's the inflation hedge right now. So obviously, if the dollar's weaker, then a lot of people are going to have less money. So your $100 is going to be worth less if you keep it in dollars, right? So as in purchasing power. So that's why then people move it over. So if there's an inclination that actually it's worse than what was expected, the tapering is going to stop or slow down. If something like that gets announced, then yeah, that will have an impact. But I haven't heard anything different. I don't know anything different. We'll find out on Wednesday.
Cool. Let's just jump into another question. We are about to go and do what most of you are here for, which is to see Andy's analysis on Bitcoin. This is from David. Good to have you with us, mate. He's live on Facebook. I started investing back in September with stocks and cryptos on eToro. I feel that the market has been going downhill since then. I've nearly always bought at the top. I'm looking forward to learning how to trade properly so that I can get back the money I've lost. Even the FANG stocks, don't know what that is, and Ethereum have cost me. Is Binance safe yet, as eToro seems expensive?
Is that a confession, David, that you caused the market crash?
David's a whale.
David, why have you done that to us? No, I understand why you might be using eToro. Oh, it is a confession. Cheers, mate. No,
David, no one likes a bragger, mate, just to be honest. But
he did it while he was having a pint. No,
on the yacht. On the yacht.
Love it. That's how you do it. If you're going to cause a crash, that's how you do it. Have a pint, press the button. No, it's yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate if you've bought the top, you've bought the top, but it's not like you know, the markets will always recover. And obviously, ideally, you don't buy the top, you buy the bottom. But it's not always going to be like that. And for many, it's not the case. I think the people that make the money are the ones that hold on. With regards to safety and using eToro versus Binance, that's a good question, and one we could spend a lot of time on. But I mean, the thing you have with eToro is that you have regulation. You have an FCA regulated company, but it's very limited, and the cost of buying something is expensive. So, like, you know, you're paying. I mean, I don't use eToro, but I'm imagining I've seen other CFDs, because you're buying a CFD. Basically, you're spending a lot in terms of commissions to buy. So, and also you're very limited as to what you can buy. Again, I don't know how many coins they have, but I don't think it's too many. So, and then I guess going back, I wouldn't necessarily, I personally wouldn't use some CFDs to buy cryptos. Is Binance safe? Is his second question. Well, that's a good question. I think there's always an element of risk with any exchange, but if you're buying at spot, if you put it into cold storage, that's as safe as you're going to get. That is as safe as you're going to get. So that's what you do. Like, you can take it off the exchange. The exchange has got some risks. If the exchange gets hacked, you could lose your money. Binance is one of the better ones, but it's still at risk. So as your investments become more significant, you're going to want to move them off the exchange. Like, if you're dealing with, $500 or a few $1,000s, it's fine. But once you get to like 6 figures or 7 figures, hopefully you do, you definitely want to start moving them off the exchange and putting them into storage. I hope that kind of answers his question.
Perfect. Cool. Well, look, let's let's jump into the Bitcoin price prediction. It's been a really good chat, mate, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it at home. If you've got any questions, fire them in. We will try and answer them in the next 20 minutes, as well as getting Andy's Bitcoin prediction up. London Trading Street live on YouTube. Good to have you with us. I'm not sure I understand this. 75% of current Alice circulating supply is held by one address. What are your thoughts on this?
Let's find the guy who owns it.
I'll tell you, I'll go one further. His name's David Wood.
Yes, David. David, have you got Alice in your portfolio?
That one he's going to sink from his bloody helicopter on his way off the yacht.
See how we've pieced it, Columbo. We've pieced
bloody hell, David.
On the show, we've solved it. So David will let the group know when he's about to dump Alice. Oh my word. No, it makes it risky on a serious note, because wasn't that the case with Dogecoin as well with Elon? I remember you bringing up one of these times.
Honestly, I don't know. It's not one that I pay a lot of attention to. So
I thought that was the case with Dogecoin as well. Elon Musk held or it was only a few addresses. So yeah, it makes it very susceptible to, obviously, one or two people basically controlling that market.
Yeah.
That's not to say you shouldn't invest, but yeah, you have a bit more risk that somebody has got that power over that particular project. Okay, let's have a look at our friend Mr. Bitcoin and have a look to see what's going on. So we can see this is what's happening. Okay, I think everybody's kind of been following along, and at this stage the market, yes, has retraced, and we can do TA and we can work out where it can go. It can go lower, of course. We can do the swings going lower. I think one thing we've done at the moment is we have, we've closed lower, okay, and it's consolidating here. And yeah, on the surface of it, this can seem quite bearish, but one kind of tip that I will give you is when the market is consolidating, the candles are almost not that important. I'd be quite interested to see what kind of volume we had, because that's quite a big bar. But even if it's higher volume, it hasn't followed through, which again just shows me that the market is just consolidating. So it's not that big. I mean, look at that. Considering it's a big bar, the volume is not that big. It's about average. And so this, for me, is just a range, and we've kind of got to figure out, where we're going to go from here. Now, if from in a traditional sense, someone might argue and say, well, is that a flag, to go lower? I don't necessarily think that. I think that what I'm preparing for at the moment is the following. So I posted in our Facebook group a couple of buy points. One of them got filled, was at 45,650, and then I've got another one around 43.5, which is about here. I've got a second order, and I'll explain why. So roughly about there, right? So I'm also bidding with a second order there, and the reason why I was looking at that is, well, firstly, without going into all the details, like the 45 area was a Fibonacci level on the lower time frames. But also, I'm kind of looking at this and thinking, well, how often does the market just, go down and then immediately go up? It very rarely does that, right? So normally you have to create some kind of reversal pattern. And what I'm kind of thinking is, if I'm buying here, there's a fib level here, there's a double fib level here. But the other thing I'm thinking is, well, maybe this is going to be a double bottom. That's definitely possible. And so I'm kind of just preparing for that, thinking, well, if we go a bit lower, then maybe it's going to create a double bottom. Maybe it'll even go here. You can see there's a lot of support here on this red line. So you can see here, really a lot, and here we recently held. I think this is the key to the market right now. We've got to stay above here, otherwise we could be looking at a move lower in the short to intermediate term. I did a little bit of studying actually that I think might be worth sharing, and you can do this on your own. But as I've said to you guys, I like to just I like to look at and spot patterns. So I was just kind of looking back and kind of identifying, where markets like to turn. And I found something quite interesting that I think is worth noting, which is the following. Let me show you by actually doing it. So, all right. And let's see if, so there's a first blue line. Let's see if anybody spots what's going on here. I'm just going to do one more. Okay, there. Anybody spot what this is?
Nothing's come through on the comments. Guys, if you want to get interactive, have a little bit of coaching, why not take a guess? The last show of the year, no one's going to remember if everybody laughs at you. It'll all be forgotten.
Now,
volume change.
Not to do with volume, but thanks for the answer. I'm just I do believe that that patterns happen and they repeat, and just by studying, I noticed something, and what I noticed was that March seems to be a turning point month. So if you kind of look at this, you have like a period where the market's going down, and then in March, the market turns, and you kind of have a period of going down, and then the market turns and goes up, and then here, the market turns and then goes down. So it's almost like, for some reason, the market stops doing what it's doing. So the immediate trend. So one of the interesting things about this is that I'm actually thinking one of two scenarios. One is if this is going to repeat, then the market potentially, let's say we rally from here, okay, and let's say the market goes up. We could get a scenario where we get to kind of March, April, somewhere there, and you can see that fits really nicely in our line, and then potentially we get the correction. So that's one scenario that I'm looking at, that I'm going to keep an eye on. The other scenario is we do go lower right now. So maybe we get a bounce, okay, consolidation. I mean, my short-term target is here, by the way, 53,000. And maybe we bounce in and we hold, and then we do go lower. But then maybe March, April comes in, and then we go up. So I don't know if that's kind of insightful or not, but I think it's worth, I don't know why it's happening, but I've noticed it happening. I definitely think there's something in it. Like, you can clearly see like the trend reversing. I mean, it didn't happen it did actually. Even that was an initial turn, but then the market went back down, and then so it's like whatever it was doing pre-March, it almost turns. So I thought I'd share that because it might be something useful for people to kind of look out for. But I've kind of, and I'm basically open to both things. Like it can easily do this scenario, but I guess it's like, if you think of it like this, Gavin, like if for example, the market did do this, okay, and it started to go really much lower, think about what news has come out during that time, right? Crypto is going to disappear. It's going to get regulated. It's not going to be any Bitcoin. It's going to be Britcoin. China, this, all sorts of crazy things are going to be said, right? That's the only thing that will justify this market move if it happened.
And in the meantime, all the VCs, all the hedge funds, all the banks will be setting up all of their crypto divisions and buying up on the cheap.
Absolutely buying everything there is. Like with Bitcoin right now, Supply is just going down and down and down every 4 years. It can only go one place. And so we can be grateful for whatever happens next. As I said, right now, even though, like, when we look at this, I can see why people are making the case for the bearish move. We've had a big drop. We're consolidating. We could go lower. I'm not planning for that right now, but if we do, like I said, we're going to be prepared for it. And it's nothing to fear. Start saving up, and maybe March, April might be the turning point if history is going to repeat. So it's almost like, but mark this down and let's see what happens. It will be interesting to come back to see how well this video has aged. But if we do get this move higher, it will be interesting to see if we do indeed kind of come in March into April, like if we do get the sell-off then. It might be prudent to just take a look at that time, and we'll obviously keep you guys up to date with what we think. But it might be worth looking at that and identifying whether it's worth taking some profits off the table if we do indeed get that move up over the next few months. I haven't got into the lower time frames, but I think that might be sufficient for Bitcoin. I mean, I've already spoken about areas where you can buy this. I'll show you the 4-hour time frame very briefly. So that was the I was saying this to you offline, Gavin. Like, on the spot, you wouldn't have been filled on this order. So I had 45,650, but this is for me as a trade. So I'm long, and I've got a second order lower around 43-ish, 43.5. You can see there 2 fib levels there make that quite interesting, and it's also quite there's a little bit of a level down here as well, so you can see there it's quite a reactive level. So I'm bidding here as well, just in case it wants to kind of just take out a few stops, and then so we could get that scenario where you go down, it looks like it's going to go lower, and then we bounce and we get that move back up to here. I think that right now looks like the easy play, in my opinion. And then if we do break higher, then great, we can start to buy more. Is that okay, mate? Is that okay, everybody?
Gold, as usual. Julie saying scenario 2 looks like a repeat pattern. Con saying that would be a head and shoulders. Nick Paps is saying March is the key area.
Someone, no, it's, like I said, I just happened to just play around with stuff, and I just noticed it, and I thought it's worth keeping it. When we find something like that, it's definitely worth just marking it down on your charts and just being aware of it, because timing is quite important.
Roy saying cool. Zach saying golden. Get your own line, Zach. Come on, mate. You're more creative than that. Our Snake Trader is saying thank you.
Are you abusing my members?
By the way, that wasn't a dig at members. When I was talking earlier about emotions and stuff, that's just everybody, the general sentiment in the marketplace. Our Con was saying his comment was about the head and shoulders was regarding the daily, not the 4-hour. So yeah, that's
okay.
tickety-boo. Whilst we're just talking about things like, I want to leave you with this, because some of you won't have seen this. It's going to take Andy and I out of the picture, but I'd just like you to comment on this, Andy, because this, when I saw this, just blew my mind.
Yeah, I've seen this as well.
So I just thought I'd bring it up towards the end of the show and just get your comments on this, because these are cold, hard facts. Like Michael Saylor, that talk I was listening to last week, on average, Bitcoin is increased 170% per year over the last 10 years. Whether it's going to do that again the next 10 years, we don't know. But what we can say with cold, hard data is over the last 2-3 years, when the brown stuff has really hit the fan, look at the performances. Where if you're not going to put your money in cryptos to try and beat inflation and to try and get ahead out of the old system and the old way of doing things, where are you going to put your money?
Well, look, I mean, to kind of be fair, like I think the thing that maybe
I'll bring us back
is kind of missing is that when it's a lot easier to hold bonds, it's a lot easier to hold things that are less volatile. I think that's what it comes down to. I think I've said it to people before. Like, if you could just invest and wake up in 5 years' time and see where those coins are, you'd be extremely happy, because you haven't had to go through those roller coasters, the FUD, the FOMO, the news, crypto's going to zero, all these things that you have to deal with all the time, or the opinions of friends and family. That's what makes it tough, right? Is there anybody in this room that doesn't think cryptos is going to be higher than where we are today in the next 5 years? I doubt it. Imagine that. If we took a poll and we asked everybody that's going to listen to this show, does anybody think cryptos will be lower than where we are now in 5 years' time? I'd be amazed if we got 1% that thought that would be the case. So if that's the case, then that kind of answers, a lot of questions, right? That short-term movements are short-term movements, but the reality is that if you can handle those emotions, you're going to be extremely better off being in cryptocurrencies versus most other asset classes, if not all other asset classes. So, I think it's important that you definitely you remember that. And you have to go through those emotions, unfortunately, unless you're going to go into a coma for the next 5 years, which is an option.
Not one that we're advising for, by the way.
Not one that we're selling anything for, but you never know, Gavin. You may have a page for you guys soon.
That's coming on the dark web.
On the dark web, you might be able to buy something, guys.
Whoever gets the link for that, you've definitely going to be sitting on the naughty step. I can tell you that much. So yeah, it's cool. It's really, really interesting. And look, at the end of the day, guys, it's the chance for us normal folk to build life-changing wealth just by hodling. But the game is the mental game of chess. And if it really was that easy, everybody would be doing it. And now we're starting to experience as a collective, it isn't that easy to do what Messrs. Demi and all of these other pro traders have been doing for years, year in, year out. But we're on our journey. And if you're up 2x, 3x, 4x, whatever it is, amazing. If you're not yet, that's also amazing too. Just don't give up. I mean, look, I pulled off some figures. People who bought these coins year to date from 2020, right? Solana, you'd be up 8,400%. Terra, Luna, 8,300%. Polygon, one that you wax lyrical about, 10,000%. And also an exciting thing about Polygon, they've got a ton of NFT projects coming up next year, right? So that's going to be an interesting one to watch. So, and again, like I said, March 2020, Ethereum was below $100 at $80 a coin. And if that was the time when everybody was going to be panicking, I wasn't even involved in the crypto space then. But I can only imagine what would have happened around those times. If we were doing a show back then, that would have been interesting.
Yes. Have we got time to quickly do Ethereum? I'm not going to spend a lot of time while we're done.
If you can get it done in 5 minutes.
2-minute version?
Does anybody like the 2-minute version? If you think you can do it in 2 minutes, go for it.
Well, all I'll say is I've posted this in the group anyway. So just kind of keep an eye on this flag, guys. We've had a nice move in Ethereum, and right now we've kind of created this flag formation, which could end up doing that. You know, a really simple way to do this is just to take the fib and identify basically where it could get to. That you've got your 1.6, almost, look at that, my arrow goes to the 1.618 before I've even drawn it. But that could be a, you know, a possibility of how we could move. We could be heading towards this block up here, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see if I don't know if Ethereum is the same about March. You guys can do that analysis yourselves, but if it is, it would be quite interesting to see that. So you'd be kind of looking at something like that up to the overextension. What level does that take us to there? Be about there. Yeah, that looks, doesn't that look really possible? Like, it really does to me. Like, just kind of break of this flag, and then we get up to here. We connect this line, overextension. It's gone parabolic. Wow, it's going to go to 3 million, and then bang. Save that picture. Let's see if we can see the future.
Strange.
But that's a real possibility. And obviously, like same goes with Bitcoin. What we said with Bitcoin, if we do go the other way, then we could look at that as a possible area where the market might turn and then start to go up. So I'd imagine it'd be more like that, back to these kind of levels, and then up. So we'll see. I think we're at key point right now, and that is my 2-minute version complete.
Boom. And also, I just want to say thank you very much. Like, obviously, we've got guys tuning in live on YouTube, tuning in live on Facebook. We can't see the thumbs up that we get now on YouTube, but obviously we appreciate the thumbs up and the interaction in the community. I just want to say thanks to Slav for giving us a love heart, and for Kevin, Kev V, Zach, Roy, Gary, and Julie for giving us some love on the comment section, because it's a community, and obviously we want to see that we're getting some resonance. People aren't just kind of coming in and getting what they need and, you know, leaving us, dumping us after a 5-minute pump or an hour's pump in this case. What?
You're telling me about what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's still no box of tissues.
You don't want to be used.
No box of tissues required. But yeah, look, guys, thank you very much for taking the time to do that. It shows good darts on your part. So we really appreciate that. It's really cool. Facebook user, thank you for your message. Keep happy Christmas, and happy Christmas, Gavin. Happy Christmas, everyone. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Zach doing it in his Mike Lowry impression.
Mum, go on.
Me?
Yeah.
My Mike Lowry is not great.
Well, let's hear it.
You've got a deeper voice. I think yours will be better.
I don't know how it goes.
Come on, Mike Lowry and Bad Boys.
Go on. I don't know.
My man.
There you go.
That's the best.
I believe you fell for that, mate.
You got it out of me, mate. I knew what you were doing. I knew. Thanks for the lecture, guys. Not sure if that was that enjoyable for you then, but I know what you're saying. So thank you very much for that. And then back is a common occurrence. Lowest. Thank you, Andy. Always good tuning in.
LLest.
Yeah, always good to have you with us. So look, guys, thank you for the love. That's it. That's the last show of 2021. It's been an awesome ride. It's been great sharing this ride with you guys. And let's keep on going, guys. We are the tip of the spear. We are the 1%, part of the 1%. Maybe that's growing a little bit now. It's going to get a little bit bumpy. But is there anything that you want to say before we leave?
No, just kind of the same as what, the sentiment from yesterday. Just thank you guys for being here. Obviously, we wouldn't be doing this show if it wasn't for you guys here tuning in. And I can see our hearts have gone up and our likes have gone up. I wonder if Gavin's touching words have inspired you. But no, it's been fun. We've had a great time. And we really kind of, I don't know if people really appreciate it. I think people that get to work with me one-to-one maybe do that. You know, I think on these shows, we're just ourselves. We're not putting on a show for anybody. We say what we think. We do what we say. And everything you get here is real. And that's important. It's not, you know, I wouldn't tell somebody to do something that I'm not doing. You know, all of these experiences that I've had. Well,
sorry, I've got to stop you there, mate. Apart from the Mike Lowry impression. Otherwise, you got to do it. I didn't
tell anyone to do it, did I?
You told me to do it, and then you weren't prepared to do it yourself. That's...
apart from Gavin, I get him to do anything. But
wow, really?
Well, you've told me your past. I know your past. I know what you did. Let's not bring that up here now.
That sounds so wrong and so
Gavin
weird.
used to be a radio show presenter. I'm not going to tell you what he did, but maybe one day he will share it with you. That's right. You were. What radio show was it?
Never mind. Keep on.
Never mind. He doesn't want that.
The heartfelt final message. We can't be serious for too long, can we, mate? Paul is saying, who needs Morecambe and Wise when you've got Andy and Gavin?
You've just added that bit in.
Yeah, that's kind of, it was the obvious bit just to finish it off, right? Obviously, his Wi-Fi cut out before he could finish it.
Must be. Yeah, and it takes one to know one.
Exactly that. So look, on a serious note, before you were saying about you being a hypocrite, what else were you going to say apart from that?
That's pretty much it, guys. I'd really, I'd encourage you. I know some people, I'm not going to mention names, Brucey, but I know some people get upset that people don't post and things like that. And I get it. But, we actively try and make that community good for you guys, and we try and give you value and post. And it is true. If you can participate, ask questions, post informative things, make it a really great community. Every individual makes a difference. At the end of the day, it's there for you guys. We absolutely do everything we can to help you avoid all the spammy messages and all the rest of it, so you can have a nice environment. Use it, I guess, is the best thing. But aside from that, guys, genuinely, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a great year. It's been, I'd like to thank you, Gavin, as well, here on air. I've thanked you off air. You've made this what it is, to be fair. And this was your vision, and you've created it. And I think we've had a great year. And I think people appreciate what we've done. And so thank you, everybody. Thank you. And have a great holiday. Have some time off, regroup, refresh, and let's get going next year to smash it up and make a lot of money.
Beautiful words, Mr. Demi. It's been a pleasure on this ride with you, my friend, as we end 2021 and head into 2022. Have an amazing Christmas. Love you guys. Take care.
If you could get some tissues, it'd be appreciated, but it's fine. We can end it like this.
So weird, mate.
He'll cry off air.